Each holiday season generates an estimated $1 trillion in the US alone. Nearly 2 billion candy canes get made. 25 million real Christmas trees are bought. Hand-blown ornaments, giant chocolate Santas, and a school that trains real-life Santas all do their part in spreading holiday cheer. We go behind the scenes to see the businesses and the people that make Christmas such a big business. Panettone is Italy's iconic Christmas dessert, and around 50 million loaves are baked each holiday season. Here's how panettone is crafted in Milan, the birthplace of this beloved treat.
The way you know you're on the right track to making a perfect panettone is if your dough looks like this. Not just bright yellow, but soft and gooey, unlike most of the bread dough.
Panettone is made with an Italian yeast called lievito madre, which literally means mother yeast. It's a very hard yeast to master. You need time and a lot of patience. But here in Milan, the birthplace of panettone, bakers are only allowed to use this yeast and this yeast only. So what else makes Italian panettone so special? We're going to find out.
Lievito madre gives panettone its tangy flavor, but it also makes the baking process much longer. In total, it takes 3 days to make one panettone.
Questo è il nostro lievito madre, che è la base della produzione del panettone.
E perché è così importante il lievito madre?
Perché è quello che ci permette all'impasto di fermentare nel modo corretto, e di durare più a lungo, di sviluppare profumi, aromi e sofficità all'interno del prodotto.
Quanto è vecchio questo lievito madre?
All'incirca 70-80 anni. Quindi è 80 anni che tutti i giorni qualcuno gli dà da mangiare. In questo caso adesso noi la mattina, tutte le mattine, lo andiamo a
C'è una crosticina.
pulire.
Quindi rimuovete questa crosticina.
La parte secca viene rimossa, lo annusiamo per sentire la fermentazione, capire se ha qualche problema, e lo assaggiamo. Quindi deve ricordare un po' lo yogurt. Leggermente acido, però non devi sentire...
Abbastanza acido.
È fermentato da 24 ore e noi lo conserviamo in acqua. Ci troviamo molto bene perché l'acqua permette al lievito di rimanere dolce.
This yeast weighs 2.5 kilos. 1 kilo will be used for about 25 kilos of panettone dough. To make panettone, lievito madre needs to be refreshed 3 times with flour and water every 3.5 hours.
Cioè, quanto rende, diciamo, più lunga la produzione di un panettone che già di per sé è molto elaborata?
Praticamente hai quasi 7-8 ore in più. Questo ci permette di appunto avere un prodotto che rimane soffice più a lungo.
Quindi quanto stai mettendo?
Allora, in questo momento noi rinfreschiamo una parte di lievito, una parte e 0,2 di farina e il 40% di acqua sul peso della farina.
Giovanni uses what's called Type 0 flour, a finely ground flour that makes panettone soft while keeping it strong and elastic. Temperature is important too. Giovanni is looking for 26 degrees Celsius. The yeast is still a bit cold, so it will need to mix a bit more. When it's ready, Giovanni divides it into 2 parts. One will be used today for the panettone, and the second will continue to age as the original 80-year-old mother yeast. Then it is rolled to smooth it out a bit like croissant dough. In the evening, after the yeast has been refreshed 3 times, it is added to water, sugar, butter and egg yolks to create a panettone base mix. The rest of the ingredients will have to wait for the next day. This is how the base mix looks like the morning after.
Da qua adesso sono più o meno 2 volte e mezza, 3 volte. Se tu senti è profumo di più buoni che io conosca, e poi ne assaggiamo sempre un pezzettino.
Buonissimo.
Andiamo a metterlo in macchina con la farina.
The base mixes with the flour for only 10 minutes to gain elasticity.
Adesso, come vedi, questa maglia comincia a formarsi. Non è ancora perfettamente perché vedi che si spacca, però sta cominciando a crearsi.
Once the network has formed, Giovanni proceeds to add all the other ingredients: egg yolks, sugar, a mix of honey, candied orange paste and vanilla, then salt, butter and water. It will mix for 40 minutes.
Puoi vedere?
Non si rompe.
La maglia è più che formata, quindi ci siamo.
The candied oranges, the candied cedar and the sultana raisins go in last. as they're there to add flavor but don't contribute to the texture of the dough.
Vedi come tiene?
Sì,
La frutta
quindi
è
praticamente
inglobata.
dovrebbe arrivare fin su senza rompersi.
Sì, dovrebbe esatto, avere
molto
questa struttura
elastico.
elastica.
It rests for 1 hour, then gets split into 25 parts before resting for another hour. Then it has to go through a very important step called pirlatura. This movement gives panettone the strength it will need to grow in the oven.
Questa parola deriva da questo movimento, quindi di
Ok,
pirlare. Quindi andare in giro.
sì sì.
Qua ci sono diverse tipologie di pirlatura, quella più classica che mi hanno insegnato proprio all'inizio è questa. Dovrebbe girare sempre sullo stesso asse, no? Un po' come la Terra, no? La parte centrale dovrebbe rimanere sempre lì, di modo che poi tutto lo sforzo vada in centro.
The dough is so strong now that it needs a little something to point it to the right direction, which is upward. This is when molds come in, called pirottini in Italian. They used to be made of wicker and were reused, but now they're made of paper. And once the dough is paired with its corresponding pirottino, they are there together for the long haul.
Quindi questi sono fatti appositamente
Per i panettoni.
per i panettoni.
Esatto. Vuoi provarne uno? Allora, praticamente
Vai, cosa? Non so che fa.
devi mettere la mano qua.
Ah, sì.
E vai. Non aver paura. Prima una mano, poi l'altra fai. Va bene, dai, vedi che prende forza?
Eh sì.
Un pochino. Basta.
Eccolo. Ok,
Se no si
poi?
strappa. Aspetta.
Ah. Vabbè, vedi un po' tu.
Ok. Lo chiudiamo per le eventuali bolle.
Sì, e poi.
Lo mettiamo qua.
Ok.
Ok?
È bella, una bella sensazione sulle mani.
Questa è bella.
Ma quindi tu da quanti anni
I primi
fai?
panettoni che ho visto 15 anni fa.
E quanto tempo secondo te ci vuole per imparare a fare un buon panettone?
Forse adesso comincio a capirci qualcosina.
Ah,
Dopo
addirittura.
migliaia di panettoni sfornati. Però tuttora ci sono cose che faccio fatica magari a controllare, quindi ci vuole
Sì.
20 anni. Cioè 20 anni puoi dire, ok, so cosa vuol dire fare il panettone.
The panettone have to rest one more day in the molds to ferment a bit more. This will give them a softer texture and allow the aromas to really burst through. When the day has passed and the wait is over, there is still one more thing to do.
Ho fatto una crosticina e puoi sentire anche gli odori della fermentazione notturna.
Adesso inizia proprio il sapore
Con
del
la
panettone.
vaniglia, il miele, la frutta. E andiamo a mettere una noce di burro. Si scioglie e permette appunto di crescere, ok? Se no si cuocerebbe sopra e farebbe più fatica, farebbe da tappo.
Have you ever wondered why panettone has a perfect round shape but an uneven surface? It all has to do with the way it is prepped before going into the oven. This process, when the dough is cut in the shape of a cross, is called scarpatura and is a sign of a true Milanese panettone.
Vuoi farlo?
Ok.
Attenta che taglia, eh? Tienila solo in mezzo.
Questa tecnica, la scarpatura, è qualcosa di veramente tipico, milanese, del milanese.
Fa sviluppare di più un panettone. Però questo è proprio il classico procedimento milanese. Tipico. Burro
Sopra, così.
in mezzo e poi chiudiamo gli angoli. Siamo pronti per il forno? Allora, adesso metto questo qua, è una sonda per vedere la temperatura. Let's go. È un attrezzo da barbecue in realtà, però è comodissimo perché
Cioè?
mi dice a che temperatura è il cuore.
The panettone bake for 1 hour at 170 degrees Celsius. As soon as Giovanni and his team churn them out, they are placed in the special pliers and turned upside down. Their dough is very rich, as we've seen so far, so turning them prevents them from collapsing. They will rest upside down for 8 hours to cool down.
Si vede il glutine, no?
Sì,
insomma,
esatto,
l'aria che si è
la
creata,
struttura
sì.
è...
E quindi questo è perché ha usato il lievito madre.
Sì,
Perché
esatto,
è cresciuto.
esatto. Cheers,
Ok,
come si dice, buon Natale.
buon Natale, sì. proprio buono.
Si sentono i profumi che sentivamo nell'impasto, no?
Sì. La cosa fantastica è che si sente, cioè comunque è dolce, ma non dà di zucchero, non è zuccheroso,
Sì, non è
pesante.
fastidioso.
È veramente quel dolce leggero, aromatico, dato dai canditi.
La fermentazione e poi la...
Sì,
Esatto.
ed è distribuito poi su tutta la
Sì.
pasta. È anche ancora un po' umida all'interno, no?
3 giorni di lavorazione proprio perché permette di rimanere soffice.
Wow. Però è un peccato mangiare questo solo a Natale, no? Che dici?
Sì. Dovrebbe essere il dolce di tutti i giorni, di tutti i milanesi di tutti i giorni.
Nutmeg is essential to countless Christmas desserts. In India, one village is known for producing some of the world's finest and most expensive nutmeg and mace. Here's how these farmers grow, harvest, and perfect this prized spice.
This alien-like red membrane is the spice, mace. When removed, it reveals another spice, nutmeg. These twins come from a single fruit, but mace is 5 times as expensive and a lot more fragile. If it breaks while being separated from the nutmeg, it'll sell for much less than a whole one. And if the fruit is picked even 1 day late, both spices can easily be ruined by fungus. Pickers also have to deal with aggressive pests. Here in the town of Pollachi, India, farmers harvest a special hybrid variety of the dual spice. That means Pollachi farmers can sell their mace for $50 per kilogram, compared to the country's lead producing city, Kerala, which sells mace for $35. Both are still far more expensive than US mace, selling at $9 per kilo. And while farmers often don't reap the major profits from what they harvest, in Pollachi, they've successfully cut out all middlemen to gain back control of their spices. So what makes their nutmeg and mace so different from the rest? And why are they so expensive? It's early morning, and Kokila is getting ready to harvest the spices. It's monsoon season, and afternoons are usually pouring with rain. So, Kokila needs to harvest quickly. While nutmeg needs good rain to grow, dry mornings like today are perfect for picking. Kokila is one of 4 female pickers who live on the farm and will pick today. During peak season, there can be 10 pickers at one time, but today, it's nearing the end of the season and the yield will be lower. They expect to pick 800 to 1,000 fruits. They use aluminium and bamboo poles to pick. Some trees grow up to 50 feet high, so those can only be reached with the taller bamboo poles. Using these heavy poles while constantly looking up can leave the pickers with neck and shoulder pain.
ரொம்ப ஹைட்டா போச்சாலும் பொரிக்க முடியாதுங்க முதுகு வலிக்கும்.
The nutmeg and mace grow together inside a yellow fruit on the Myristica fragrance tree. Once it splits, it's ready to be harvested.
இது வந்து ஓபன் ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் இப்படி இருக்கு. இது வந்து இந்த ஃப்ரெஷ்ஷா இருக்கும்போது பறிச்சிரணும்னா
If they leave it for any longer, even one additional day, it will quickly gather mold and be considered second class and about half the price. So, during harvest season, pickers need to check the fruits on the trees every day, especially during the rainy season. Another stressor for Kokila and the other pickers are red ants, also known as fire ants, which nest in these trees.
சின்ன சின்ன எறும்புங்காட்டி அது 1000 2000 3000 இருக்கும் அது மேலே விழுகும் அதுதான் எங்களுக்கு கொஞ்சம் பயமா இருக்கு புடுங்கறதுக்கு.
In small trees, the nests can be easier to detect and manage. But when they're higher up, the entire nest can fall on them.
கஷ்டம் இது பொரிக்கிறது மேலேருந்து பொரிக்கும்போது மேலே தலை எல்லாம் விழுந்துரும். சம்டைம்ஸ் வந்து கண்ணிலேயே விழுக ஆரம்பிச்சிரும். எங்கள் அம்மாவுக்கு அந்த மாதிரி வந்து ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் பார்த்து இப்போ தான் க்யூர் ஆகிருக்குது. அப்புறம் வந்து இந்த காய் ஜாதிக்காய் பூவில் வந்து குட்டி குட்டி எறும்பு கருப்பு எறும்பு இருக்கும். அது அதிகமாக இருக்கனால எங்களுக்கு கொஞ்சம் நாங்கள் தொளிக்கிறப்பெல்லாம் கடிக்க ஆரம்பிக்கும். அதனால நாங்கள் என்ன பண்ணுவோம், தண்ணியில் வந்து நாங்கள் ஃபுல்லாக கழுவி வாஷ் பண்ணதுக்கப்புறம் நாங்கள் எடுப்போம்.
The purpose of washing is not solely for insects. It also helps to extract the mace from the fruit. The women first remove the outer yellow fruit shell. The fruit shells are cleaned and later sold. Fresh shells are edible and can be made into jams or jellies. Dried fruit can be blended with nutmeg powder to be sold as a cheaper alternative. They then separate the good from the rotten ones. The good fruits are placed in water, rinsed and soaked for at least 15 minutes. Once they have soaked long enough, the mace covering will noticeably shrink and become much looser. This is the most time-consuming and delicate stage, separating the mace from the nutmeg without damaging it. They put their fingers in carefully to grasp the nut, then twist slightly and gently, and it snaps out. They must do it slowly.
ஃபஸ்ட் டைம் வந்து அப்பா அம்மா தான் பொரிச்சிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. இப்போ தான் நான் 2 இயர்ஸாக தான் இதில் வந்து பொரிக்க ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்கேன். ஃபஸ்ட்டு எனக்கு அது தொளிக்கிறப்போலாம் வந்து கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமாக இருக்கும். பூ வந்து உடச்சிருவேன் ஃபாஸ்ட்டாக. இது வந்து மெதுவாக தான் தொளிக்கணும். நான் வந்து ஸ்பீடாக தொளிக்க ஆரம்பிச்சேன்னா பூவெல்லாம் உடைய ஆரம்பிச்சிடும். ஒரு 2 மாதத்துக்கு அப்புறம் தான் வந்து எனக்கு அது கரெக்டாக பூ உடையாமல் நான் தொளிக்க ஆரம்பித்தேன். 2 மாதம் ட்ரைனிங் எடுத்ததுக்கப்புறம் தான் எனக்கு அது கரெக்டாக வந்துச்சு. நான் இந்த மாதிரி தாமரை மொட்டு மாதிரி நல்லா இப்படி அமுத்தி பிடிச்சோம்னா இந்த மாதிரி மொக்கு மாதிரி ஆயிருங்கண்ணா. அது தனியாக அதுக்கப்புறம் நாங்கள் காய வச்சுருவோங்கண்ணா அதையே.
Today, it will take these women about 4 hours to finish plucking the mace and nutmeg, which is about 100 fruits per hour. The ones that have already fallen to the ground on their own do not need the same careful plucking. They're much looser and easier to separate because of the fungus they've developed. These will be half the price of the other fungus-free, fresher nutmegs. Gokila and the others have successfully cleaned all the flowers without breaking any of them. After the nutmeg and mace are separated, both spices need to be dried in the open sun. If the heat is too intense, the nut can crack, so after one day, farmers move it to the shade. Shade drying also preserves the aroma. Some farmers dry the nutmeg and mace in ovens, but Polachi farmers prefer to dry it in gentler conditions to preserve the structure. All the best mace and nutmeg without any fungi are then placed in separate drums, where they can remain in good condition for over a year. Not all nutmeg and mace are the same. The spices harvested in the West Indies, in places like Grenada, are lighter in colour and have a milder flavour. The more costly East Indian nutmeg and mace have a higher oil content, which gives the spices a stronger aroma and flavour. These spices from Polachi and its main competitor, the Kerala district, both fall under the East Indian category and can sell for double the price of other varieties.
Our mace is really thick. It is in the shape of a lotus bud. The shape itself is different. Since it is very thick, it doesn't break very quickly.
This is Ranjit. He's the owner of the nutmeg farm here in the Polachi district. Most of Ranjit's profit comes from the mace. It makes about 5 times as much as the nutmeg. Polachi's yield is 40% less than the Kerala district, but it has an advantage. The rains are less intense and less continuous, and low risk of fruit spoiling.
So these are the first class ones. So if you cut open, it's free from molds and it has a good aroma and fragrance. The spoiled ones will have a very foul smell. These ones right now they are costing around 480 rupees per kilo. The Polachi nuts, and the nuts that are from Kerala, they are only costing around 320 rupees.
While Polachi is already an ideal location to grow the spices, their high value is not fully the result of where they are grown, but rather how. Ranjit and other farmers have perfected the fruit to grow larger and thicker, more than double the size of another mace in India. It took Ranjit years to develop a hybrid variety that has given Polachi its competitive advantage. He also has a nursery where they grow hybrid seedlings.
This is a good one, it succeeded. See? Oh, wait, what happened? Erum, come this way.
Ranjit also uses the farming technique of intercropping, which means two crops share the soil to improve water retention in both. The ideal intercrop for Ranjit's nutmeg trees are coconut plants because they also provide the right amount of shade. But this premium quality was not always recognised or consistent with each farmer in the region. Whenever it came time to sell, Ranjit and the other Polachi farmers grew frustrated. They were dependent on the bigger cities' expertise and experience to help them sell their product. So, Ranjit and the other farmers came up with a plan. They would all follow similar techniques, separate the best quality, and set the price themselves. 2 years ago, they formed a cooperative and used similar growing methods. Collectively, they now grow about 500 acres of nutmeg and mace. In the global food industry, this is significant because local farmers who make some of the world's most expensive foods typically don't see the profits. Whether it's other harvesters here in India who scour ponds for foxnuts, only to make cents for every kilogram harvested, or small farmers harvesting green cardamom for hours by hand, only to use most of their profits to cover production costs, or workers in Bolivia fueling the global quinoa demand who can't afford to eat their own crop. The success of the Polachi cooperative has directly affected the quality of life for farmers and workers here, like Kokila.
அங்கே விட இங்கே தான் பெட்டராக இருக்குது. நான் வந்து மில்லில் ஒர்க் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன், ஆப்ரேட்டராக இருந்தேன். அங்கே வந்து எனக்கு மந்த்லி வந்து 10,000 தான் சேலரி. எனக்கு அது பத்தலை. அது நாளைக்கு வந்து 250 ரூபா கிடைக்குது. அது கம்பேர் பண்ணும்போது எனக்கு இது கொஞ்சம் பெனிஃபிட்டாக இருக்குது. 10,000லாம் ஃபுட்டுக்கு எல்லாத்துக்கும் போக கம்மியாக தான் இருக்குது. அதனால் எனக்கு இது கொஞ்சம் பரவாயில்ல. இங்கேயே ஃபுட்டு நல்ல ஃபுட்டாக இருக்குது. அதனால் நான் இங்கேயே வந்துட்டேன்.
Recently, they achieved their highest rate for mace, selling to an Australian buyer for 3,200 rupees per kilo, 14% more than the aggregator rate. For the Polachi farmers, the cooperative made a big difference. They sell to buyers across the globe and recently sold 12 tons of nutmeg and mace to a Dutch company.
Among ourselves, as a community, we had multiplied the best planting material, and now it is literally called the Polachi variety. But the local traders from Kerala come, they ask for Polachi maize. So it is doing very well for us.
Another iconic Christmas spice, cinnamon. Sri Lanka produces around 22 metric tons of it annually. However, it isn't the same cinnamon found on most people's spice racks.
This cinnamon was once as valuable as gold. It's known as Ceylon cinnamon, or true cinnamon, and it's healthier and sweeter than other kinds. Sri Lanka produces 90% of the world's supply. But true cinnamon is up against a powerful rival. A lower quality kind called cassia. It can be unhealthy in large amounts, but it's up to 10 times cheaper. So, it dominates the global market. The problem is cassia and Ceylon look nearly identical in powder form, and loose labeling laws make it easy for brands to mix in cheap cassia with the more expensive stuff, or replace it completely. So why is this Sri Lankan spice considered to be the best cinnamon in the world? And how do you know it's actually what's in your spice rack? Suneth harvests cinnamon for Rathna, one of Sri Lanka's largest producers. He starts working in the fields before sunrise, so he can harvest the spice while there's moisture in the air. Ceylon comes from the inner bark of cinnamon tree branches. They have to be cut at an inward angle. If Suneth cuts carefully, he can harvest each tree for half a century.
පුරුදු වඳුර මැරෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේක තවදුරටත් ජීවත් වෙනවා. මේකෙන් පැල දානවා. මැරෙන්නේ නැහැ. පුරුදු වඳුර පැල 14ක් වගේ වෙනකොට පැල දාන්න තමයි අපි.
After about 4 hours of cutting, he hauls the last batch of branches back to the estate's main building. Each bundle of branches is soaked in a water tank for at least 15 minutes. This will make the bark easier to peel off. Suneth's work has just begun. Until at least 10 p.m., he works with a team of peelers like Saman to scrape each branch one by one. It exposes a softer inner bark. This is the actual cinnamon.
සුද්ධ කරද්දී මේ අමාරු ඉතින් වුරුදු කපන් ඇවිල්ලා වාඩි වෙලා ඉන්න එකත් අමාරුයි. අමාරුට කොහොමද කරන්නත් බෑ ඕනේ.
Brass rods smooth the surface and loosen the cinnamon from the hard wood. Then, with surgical precision, they carve and slice the bark into thin strips known as quills. The quills are so thin that they immediately curl up as they dry. Small pieces of inner bark, called quillings, prevent rips. Saman gets paid by the weight.
මම සාමාන්‍යයෙන් පොන්ඩු කිලෝ 4ක් 5ක් විතර වගේ 4ක් විතර වගේ බලන්න ඇති දවසකට. මහන්තිම ගත්තොත් රෑ 12ක වෙනකන් පොන්ඩු කිලෝ 5ක් 6ක් තරහ ගන්න ඇති. මහන්තිම දවස ගානේ නෝමල් එකේ වැඩ කරොත් පොන්ඩු කිලෝ 4ක් විතර වගේ තරහ ගන්න ඇති.
The quills typically need to dry for a week. Then, they're sent off to the factory to be processed. 15 minutes down the road, sorters determine the value of each quill. The thinner the quill, the more expensive it is. Just like meat, cinnamon gets a grade. Rockefeller uses 8 in total, all based on diameter. The highest quality, known as alba, is as thin as a pencil. It's twice as valuable as H2 FAQ, the lowest grade. Only one in about 25 quills gets the alba grade. Sorters, like Violet, grade thousands of quills a day, and she can grade each one in a few seconds. Once the quills are sorted, they cut them into different lengths and package them up for shipping. The long cuts are packaged in bulk to be sold wholesale. Shorter 3-inch sticks go to grocery stores. But for much of human history, a sack of this cinnamon would have been worth a fortune. The spice was traded across the ancient world since at least 2000 BC. Merchants peddled legends that the sweet-smelling bark came from the nest of a mythical bird. At one point, cinnamon was more valuable than gold. By the 13th century, Sri Lanka had begun exporting the spice directly to Egypt, and Arab traders brought it to medieval Europe. Ceylon cinnamon was so sought after, it became a status symbol for the rich. Soon, European countries wanted to profit off the trade themselves. For more than 300 years, the Portuguese, Dutch, and British fought over the island and control of its valuable exports. The country declared independence and regained control of its cinnamon lands in 1948. But by then, a cheaper alternative, cassia, had already begun to dominate the market. Cassia comes from a totally different tree, which grows taller and has thicker bark. Most of it is produced on farms in East or Southeast Asia, like this one in Indonesia. The country has roughly twice the amount of cinnamon plantations as Sri Lanka. Producers can harvest entire trees at one time. The process requires fewer workers and makes it easier to produce in bulk. Cassia farmers can harvest 10 times the amount of cinnamon per acre than Ceylon farmers. But cassia could pack hidden health risks. Ceylon cinnamon boosts the immune system, lowers blood pressure, and stabilizes blood sugar. Cassia has health benefits too, but it contains high levels of a compound called coumarin, which can cause liver damage if consumed in high doses. Cassia can have 250 times more of it than Ceylon, but you'd have to eat roughly a teaspoon of cassia a day for weeks to put yourself at risk. Countries like Germany have rules to limit coumarin in foods. The US doesn't regulate the amount of coumarin in cinnamon. So, how do you spot the difference in the spice aisle? It's easier when you're buying cinnamon sticks. Ceylon quills have more of a brown hue. If they look red, there's a good chance you're eating cassia. Cassia sticks are also thicker. They're usually half an inch and hard to break. Meanwhile, Ceylon can be as fragile as cigar paper. Taste can be another giveaway. Cassia usually has a strong and spicy flavor. Ceylon is sweeter and milder. But powdered cinnamon is harder to verify. Some fraudsters have been caught mixing powdered cassia with Ceylon, but marketing it as pure Ceylon. One study found that over half of the products in European and US grocery stores contained mixed cinnamon.
Once it mixed with Ceylon cinnamon and cassia, it's hard to detect what is there. Only the coumarin content helped the people to know this one, but the consumers, they are far away from that kind of test.
But she says no one in the US or the EU is stopping this. In the US, it's estimated that the FDA only physically inspects 1 to 2% of imported foods, like spices.
The regulatory authorities, they are kind of deep in a silence in this adulteration. Even their health consequences, they are not taking any action.
So how is Sri Lanka supposed to compete in an industry filled with fraud? In 2022, it scored a major win. The European Union granted a coveted geographical indication tag to Ceylon cinnamon. That means any spice bottle labeled Ceylon in the EU has to come from Sri Lanka. It's like how real champagne can only come from one region of France. The tag could reduce competition, increase Ceylon's value, and boost sales. But it only goes so far. In both the EU and US, brands don't have to add the tag or indicate what type of cinnamon they're selling. So, it's hard for customers to know what they're eating. De Silva says adding the botanical or species name of Ceylon on the ingredients list will help inform customers.
So the consumer knows that cinnamon comes from which area of the Sri Lanka even, and then who did the processing, which conditions they use.
She hopes this will help Sri Lanka's thousands of producers earn more for their Ceylon.
It's a culture. How many people depend on this industry?
Candy canes play a leading role during the holidays. Almost 2 billion of the pepperminty treats are produced every year. That's one candy cane for every 4 people on the planet.
I am the Grand Poobah, in charge of all of Lofty Pursuits.
This is Greg. He's a sugarsmith and knows a thing or two about candy canes. His shop makes thousands during the holiday season. We're here in Tallahassee, Florida at Lofty Pursuits, where candy cane making is a big deal. More than 20,000 of the twisted treats are sold every year, but the technique used here is unlike many others, including this hand-pulling method from the 19th century that turns the yellow melted sugar in candy canes white. The sweet shop churns out about 4 batches of 200 candy canes a day between the months of November and December. But what do candy canes have to do with the holidays? Well, one of the reasons actually has to do with the weather.
You see, the humidity and the heat of the summer makes it difficult to make candy canes. We can do it now with air conditioning and dehumidifiers, but back in, 300 years ago, they couldn't do this.
The process behind candy cane making is pretty laborious. It starts with hot sugar that's heated in a giant kettle of more than 300 degrees Fahrenheit. The candy is poured on a cooling table where peppermint flavoring is added. Sugarsmiths knead the flavoring and candy together until it turns a golden brown. Afterwards, it's placed into a puller that turns the candy silky white. Then it's rolled into a giant log-like shape. The log is put on the batch roller and formed into a cone shape, which is actually one candy maker's favorite part.
Well, we try to make as many candy canes as we can, but as far as our candy canes, we have a little bit at the end left that I say for myself. I like eating it warm because it's a little bit soft. And so it's a very different experience that you don't really get to have.
For the rest of us, we get the iconic J shape. The canes are snipped into strips and moved to the crooker, which gives the candy cane that hook shape. But no one seems to know the true origin of the candy cane. Legend has it that in the 17th century, a German choir master needed to make shepherd's canes for a nativity scene.
So you had tiny little candy sticks made, and white peppermint was very common back there, and you had white peppermint crooks made to be a bishop's crook.
Today, candy canes are available in different shapes, colors, and flavors, but the red and white peppermint candy cane still remains a classic favorite.
73% of people say they prefer a classic peppermint flavored candy cane, but about 27% of people say they love fancy flavors, everything from fruit flavored candy canes all the way to dill pickle flavored candy canes.
We may never know how candy canes came to be, but the pepperminty treat has sealed itself into holiday history.
What I love about this season when I make candy canes is just seeing the kids' expressions where they realize that the food actually comes from someplace. It doesn't mysteriously appear on their plate. Somebody is preparing it, somebody is making it. Even mass-produced food is this way. We're so used to seeing food in a cardboard box, and this way you get to interact with it, you know, with local ingredients or other things. That's part of what Lofty Pursuits is about.
Nothing beats the Christmas tradition of baking homemade cookies. This company makes 2,500 cookie cutters per hour.
Ann Clark Cookie Cutters is the largest cookie cutter company in the U.S. They've been selling cookie cutters for 30 years, and they go beyond reindeers, ballerinas, and mason jars.
I've been making gingerbread cookies with my mom for the holidays for years. And every year rolls around and we want to branch out. We want to find different cookies to make. Never have I come across a light bulb or ugly sweater cookie cutter, but that's only 2 of hundreds that Ann Clark Cookie Cutters makes.
The business began when founder Ann Clark decided to transform some of her popular homemade Christmas ornaments into cookie cutters. The company started manufacturing its own cookie cutters in 1996. Today, they can make about 2,300 different shapes at their Vermont facility.
We have a machine that cuts it to length, puts a hem on it, and then rolls it in a circle. Then we have those circles welded into a ring, and then each of those circles is loaded onto a machine by hand, which forms it into the cookie cutter, depending on whatever shape we're making.
About 1,100 designs are on the market at a time, including some of their most popular cutters, like the Christmas tree, star, and gingerbread.
There's no question that Christmas is the biggest market for cookie cutters. We're always going to be a Christmas-oriented business because that's going to be the busiest time of the year, but we're also working to make cookie cutters are a fun project to do year-round.
I'm a big fan of the ornament.
Oh, it's a good cookie.
It's like a really big cookie.
Ann Clark's team maintains sales year-round by luring customers to buy non-holiday cookie cutters too. The company creates 3 new designs each week. They make new designs based on market trends, like the unicorn, which is one of Ann Clark's best-selling items.
A creative director will come to me with a new shape, right? And I will think it's a silly idea. I did the mason jar and it came out and I said, well, don't worry about it because we're never going to sell anything. But they just sell and sell and sell. So I have learned I don't even try to have an opinion on shapes. Yeah, I'm fooled all the time.
Ann Clark Cookie Cutters manufactures 4.5 million cookie cutters every year. They source all their materials from the U.S. to make each shape in-house. And that was part of Ben Clark's plan as CEO from the start.
When we started in the cookie cutter business, virtually all the cookie cutters you buy were made in China. I felt from the get-go that we should make our product here. I would say every friend I have told me I was an idiot and said we should be buying our cookie cutters from China because it's a lot easier. And it would have been a lot easier. But I was determined that we were going to make cookie cutters in the United States.
The Vermont cutters are sold in retail stores like Williams-Sonoma, Bed Bath & Beyond, and Crate & Barrel. Customers can also buy items online through the company website or Amazon.
Ooh! I feel like they're gonna be good. It's so good. It really is.
Yeah, I can go buy something on Amazon to give somebody, but to take the time to decorate a cookie and say, here's something I made for you special, oh, and by the way, it tastes really good that we're going to eat it, is fantastic. And people are enjoying that.
After enjoying your Christmas desserts, it's time to decorate. Christmas ornaments date back to 16th century Germany, and some artisans there are still crafting them the traditional way.
The Inga Glass Company in Germany is one of the oldest in the world, still making Christmas ornaments the traditional way, blowing glass and painting them by hand. Every single creation is coated from the inside first with real silver.
We're 15 generations of glass making.
There were once over 1,500 manufacturers in this part of Eastern Germany, making it the glass ornament capital of the world. Even Queen Victoria was a client. But today, many Christmas decorations are made of plastic, and 87% are mass-produced in China. Germany makes less than 1%. So how did this family business with a secret sparkle manage to survive, while hundreds went out of business? We went to Germany to see how this iconic craft is still standing. Every new Christmas ornament starts life as a drawing. A design like this can take up to 6 hours. Chris Henkel then spends a week bringing it to life in the form of a clay figure. And he's the only one at the company doing this job.
Diese ganzen Werkzeuge, die ich benutze, aber allem voran, was das A und das O ist, sind einfach meine Hände. In jeder Figur steckt auch ein kleines bisschen was von mir.
This method of blow molding ornaments hasn't changed for nearly 200 years. Matthias Wiebich first heats a glass tube to 800 degrees Celsius. He then places it in a mold and starts blowing. He has only seconds to work before it cools down and hardens.
Reinblasen, weil das Fenster ist ganz kurz.
Too much air can make the glass thin and fragile. Too little will make it thick, and it won't fill up the mould. Some shapes, like the classic bauble, don't need a mould. Nowadays, Matthias can make around 450 ornaments a day.
Hat auch sehr weh getan, aber man lernt daraus. Man achtet dann auch besser drauf.
Matthias says learning new shapes can still be a challenge.
Jahr für Jahr kommen neue Ornamente mit dazu und es ist immer eine Herausforderung, das dann so zu meistern.
The glass ornaments are now ready to take on the colours of Christmas. Workers start by coating the inside with a solution of silver nitrate. They swirl the liquid around to make sure it's evenly coated. Then dip it in hot water, which will trigger a chemical reaction that makes the silver stick to the glass. This inner coating is what gives the ornaments their silver mirror effect. They are washed with cold water and left to dry for 1 hour. Then it's time to add colour to the outside. The glass creations are transformed into Inga Glass's classic red bauble, and into these mini pickles, and yellow lemons. The coat is thin enough to allow the mirroring from the silver to still shine through.
Also wenn ich das jetzt getaucht habe und ich schiebe das durch die Bahn durch, dort kommt warme Luft raus und dadurch trocknet das. Und das dauert ungefähr 5-6 Minuten.
The warm air actually comes straight from gas burners used by the glassblowers. Inga Glass makes 1.5 million ornaments every year. Some decorations get a layer of spray paint, and they have over 100 colours to choose from. The most popular are red, gold and silver. Once they're dry, it's time for the next paint layer. Stefanie Greiner-Boom is one of the 15 full-time painters. She's been working here for 20 years and can paint as many as 110 ornaments in a day.
Kommt mir vor wie selber Märchen, zum Beispiel. Sehr schön. Wie als Prinzessin oder, ja.
Most of the ornaments here are painted by hand. They are left to dry for 20 minutes. And this is the final touch, a star-shaped crown.
Also das Sternkrönchen ist unser Markenzeichen, ist seit 1986 geschützt.
Steffi Schneider checks every piece one last time to make sure it's ready for shipping. Some decorations get a final flourish, like feathers.
Birds are very, very important in our collection, and we have about 40 different birds.
Inga Glass has been making birds like this since the factory opened. At the time, each glass factory in town had its own signature ornament. The company sells around 900 different Christmas decorations, but it has an archive of 15,000 to fall back on. Most of them are stored in this vault, and the collection keeps growing.
Every year we have about 100 new molds.
Marie Moule-Blech is the 15th generation of her family to work in the glassmaking business.
Growing up in a company and a family of glassblowers was very colorful. I did more drawing on glass bowls than on paper.
In 1597, one of their ancestors helped found the town of Lauscha, which became known for its glasswork. Back then, people across Germany decorated Christmas trees with apples, nuts, and candles. The first glass ornaments were made in 1847 by an artisan in Lauscha. At the time, Europe was going through a devastating food crisis.
Food was expensive, so what he did was he just built it out of glass.
In 1848, Queen Victoria brought a Christmas tree to Windsor Castle and adorned it with ornaments from Lauscha, and the trend grew. By 1925, glass ornaments became the town's biggest industry, with over 1,500 businesses. But everything came to a halt after World War II. The Soviet authorities who took control of what would become East Germany put a stop to all glass ornament production, and Lauscha found itself on the wrong side of the border. Many glassmakers, including Marie's paternal grandfather, fled to the west.
They started with glass blowing in their own house in the basement.
He opened Inga Glass with his wife in 1953 in Neustadt bei Coburg.
When my grandfather Heinz Müller-Blich came to West Germany here in Neustadt, he wasn't able to bring that much things with him, actually nothing.
Meanwhile, production flourished abroad. In the United States, the glass ribbon machine allowed a factory to blow up to 300,000 glass ornaments a day. And in the 1950s, more durable plastic ornaments began to replace glass ones. Production became so fast and cheap that many German ornament makers could not compete. By 2021, 87% of Christmas decorations were made in China, while less than 1% were made in Germany.
The consuming changed, and hand-blown, hand-painted wasn't that important anymore.
Inga Glass is one of the few businesses here that managed to survive. But it couldn't make it on tradition alone. So in the 1990s, Marie's parents decided that if they couldn't beat the competition, they'd have to join them.
My father thought about other possibilities of how this handicraft can go into future. And the only possibility he found was to get to know the Chinese market better and to learn about the industrial making of glass ornaments.
They started producing a line of cheaper machine-made glass and plastic ornaments to help keep the business afloat.
Peak season, of course, is in summer, actually, because then we have to produce everything for Christmas and everything has to be sent to the customers in time.
Nowadays, they sell to retailers and department stores in 40 countries. Outside of Europe, their biggest market is the US.
Die Ornamente werden in Kartonschachteln, in Kartons eingepackt und halt schön mit Papier ausgestopft, dass es halt nicht wackelt und nicht rutscht und sich halt nicht bewegt.
They even have stores throughout Germany. Their cheapest glass ornaments are $8 a piece. The priciest go for $100, like the Nikolaus Préparés. Marie says she's inspired by her family's story and is determined to keep the craft alive.
It's just what my heart beats for, and it's my passion, and I can't imagine to stop with it.
One of the most iconic Christmas trees in the world is the Rockefeller Center Tree in New York City. In 2020, we followed its journey from upstate New York all the way to its dazzling debut in the heart of Manhattan.
The iconic Rockefeller tree didn't come from a Christmas tree farm. It came from someone's backyard, here in Oneonta, New York. This year's tree is an 80-year-old Norway spruce, found in Al Dick's yard.
Tree's 75 feet tall, 45 feet wide, and about 11 tons. I found this tree back in 2016.
The head gardener for Rockefeller Center happened to be riding down the road and he saw the tree.
Eric stopped by Al's general store to see if Al and his family would donate their tree to Rockefeller Center.
He asked me if we could do it, and we said sure, but they had to wait a few years.
It wasn't tall enough when they first
saw it. Wasn't tall enough, they had to grow a little.
I've been looking at it for a couple years. I watered it, I fed it over a couple years, and then this summer when I came by, it just looked great and it looked perfect, and it was the year to take it.
When the spruce was unveiled as the 2020 tree, the Rockefeller team got to work protecting and preparing it.
We had a 24-hour-a-day guards.
Eric especially, he's been here every day. There's been like family, we're gonna miss them being outside every day.
But getting this massive spruce to the center of Manhattan is no easy task. First, it had to come out of the ground.
We came up and we started tying it. It took us all the way to Saturday afternoon.
Eric hired a crew of local workers to tie up the branches. That's to make sure they're secure through the cutting and the drive.
And then the crane came and we built the crane and put the counterweights on it so that it could hold the tree.
The crane is already attached to the tree when the workers begin cutting. Eric and his team have private property and bystanders to think about. It takes only a few minutes to saw through the massive trunk, leaving the giant tree hanging in the air.
Now we moved it over to the truck.
The tree is laid on its side on that 115-foot-long trailer and strapped into place.
The tree is going to take a nice little trip down to New York City.
Often the most complicated part is getting it right from the property where it is onto the highway.
What is normally a 3.5-hour drive takes up to 3 days with a 75-foot tree.
You don't want to get the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree stuck in traffic. And then, of course, the city of New York is always tremendously helpful with us in terms of closing the streets and making sure that we're able to have a smooth arrival into the city.
Normally, the tree arrives to big crowds. But this year, because of COVID-19, it pulled up to an empty Rockefeller Center.
We like to think that Tree Arrival Day is the start of the holiday season officially in New York. And certainly this has been a year unlike any other, so it felt all the more important to us to continue those traditions.
Carefully, it's lifted off the truck, then tilted right side up and slid into the sturdy tree stand in the middle of Rockefeller Center.
As if putting up the tree in Rockefeller Plaza is not enough.
Crews working on the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree got a little surprised.
They found a tiny owl.
This year, workers found a little owl hidden inside the tree, and the bird went viral as people guessed it hitched a ride all the way from upstate New York. He was brought safely to a shelter and named appropriately Rockefeller, Rocky for short. Also blowing up the internet, the fact that the tree looked a little bare on arrival. But what might look like a scrawny tree now got a big facelift.
This is the extension to make it nice and full.
Over the next couple of weeks, the tree was surrounded in scaffolding. As the tree's branches settled and fluffed out, it's been reported workers also attached branch extensions to make the tree appear fuller.
We stick a hole in the tree, put the branch back in,
boom,
wire it in, boom.
Like a weave. Like a weave.
Like a weave. It's just like a weave.
Then they draped 50,000 LED lights around it and topped it with a 900-pound Swarovski crystal star. And finally, on December 2nd, the Rockefeller Christmas tree is lit up, this year through a virtual ceremony.
The tree is always real. Come, you can smell it, you can see it. This year we probably won't let you touch it thanks to COVID, but I can assure you it is a very real tree. We have the pine cones to prove it.
And when it's all over,
we take the lumber when it is done and we donate to Habitat for Humanity, and it turns into homes for the future.
It's going to be a rough season for some.
At least the tree didn't get killed.
We'll go in the history books, right?
Yeah, there you go.
The magic of a real Christmas tree starts long before it reaches your living room. Let's take a look at how this farm makes it happen.
Glenview Farm is a second-generation Christmas tree farm in New Jersey.
The farm here is 32 years old. I've been running it for the last 8 years.
And what he's seen during his time in charge echoes the views of other farmers in the industry.
I think people are caring a little bit more about the environment and getting away from fake Christmas trees.
This generational focus on locally grown products and eco-friendly practices has driven some millennials towards real trees for their holiday celebrations. For others, nostalgia.
We've had some customers come as kids, and now they're bringing their children back here.
Another reason for the uptrend is simply timing.
Prices in the last 10 years have been pretty stable. Now they're starting to go up a little bit.
It takes 7 to 10 years for different species of Christmas tree to reach maturity and go on sale. A decade ago, the country was in the midst of the financial crisis. Times were tough for both consumers and farmers. The recession also meant fewer trees were being planted. Now that the economy's recovered, people are more willing to spend on celebrating in style. But because of that farming freeze 10 years ago, some farmers are dealing with a smaller supply of trees. Americans bought more than 27 million real trees last year, compared to 21 million fake ones. But only 27% of people went to farms just like this to choose and cut down their own tree. So there are still a lot of differences of opinion when it comes to tradition.
So I've only ever had one live Christmas tree in my life. When I moved to my first apartment in Chicago, I got one to break my family's tradition of only having plastic trees, and I have never gotten one since.
See, I've only ever had real trees. I've only ever cut down one once when I was pretty young, but it's always been real for me. And while he might be a little biased, Dan knows one of the best draws about getting a real tree.
Oh, definitely the smell. The smell. I love the smell. That's Christmas to me.
Americans buy and toss out about 30 million Christmas trees every year. Here in New Orleans, choppers drop thousands of trees on the bayou. It's an effort to rebuild the city's shrinking coastline and help protect it from floods. But how well does it work? We went to Louisiana to see how a wildlife refuge prepares for natural disasters using worldwide waste. Most natural Christmas trees in the US come from farms. Because these farms absorb carbon, real Christmas trees probably have a smaller environmental footprint than fake ones. But it depends what happens to them after the holidays. If biodegradable trees end up in landfills, they'll release greenhouse gases as they break down. Several cities mulch their trees instead of throwing them out, but no one really knows how many end up in the dump. The city of New Orleans sends Christmas trees back to nature. Bayou Sauvage, a massive wildlife refuge, has been using them to rebuild the coastline for more than 2 decades.
We're kind of the biggest landowner out here. We're over 25,000 acres.
Maintaining natural areas around New Orleans is so important because much of the city is sinking. It was built above sea level, but today, about half of it is below. Shelley says the neighborhoods closest to the refuge get the most protection.
During Hurricane Katrina, the refuge actually did its job. It absorbed a lot of the water that came when one of the levees broke.
But storms can take a big bite out of the city's natural buffer. After Katrina, the city lost over 150 square miles of wetlands. Shelley says the Christmas trees accelerate the natural process of restoring land.
If you let it go on its own, it's gonna happen, but it would take time. And time that we really don't have.
The city contracts workers to pick up people's trees in January, as long as they're clean.
No decorations, no tinsel, no lights, nothing.
Then contractors bundle them up by spring.
And they are brought to a site that the city owns right across the street from us.
National Guard troops inspect the bundles and attach snug, helicopter-ready harnesses.
We have to make sure that no trees are falling out as we're airlifting them to the refuge and we're crossing a highway.
Out on the bayou, guardsmen drop the trees in spots selected by the refuge workers.
Those tree drop days are just, it's kind of crazy because it's like it's a hurry up and get ready and then we sit and wait. They're listening, waiting for the same thing, that sound, whoop, 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 you know.
Moving the trees with helicopters saves time and allows new pilots a key practice opportunity.
This is like real-time training because they do drop loads in disaster situations or war situations, things like that.
After the drops, Shelley and her team collect the harnesses by airboat. Then the process repeats.
All day. Helicopter comes in, takes a load, drops it. Airboat goes in, pulls the harness off. Helicopter comes in, drops a load. All day.
Once in place, the tree branches start to trap shifting sediment, creating a place where plants can take root. The idea is that the dead trees and new plant growth make the refuge a better shield against hurricane storm surge. Since the project began 26 years ago, about 200 acres of wetlands have been restored.
When you fly over the city, you fly over our coastal area and you see where wetlands have been reestablished, you can noticeably see green versus not so green.
But that's just a small fraction of the thousands of acres of land Bayou Sauvage has lost over the past 80 years.
It is effective, but you know, it's a drop in the bucket in a very large problem. We need a lot of drops in that bucket to have measurable impacts.
It's a constant battle.
Ultimately, the biggest benefit might be bringing people together to solve a problem that's expected to get worse as the planet warms.
You know, one of the greatest things about them is that they've helped people to understand that there are relatively small things that individuals can do to help limit coastal land loss.
That might just keep people in the holiday spirit of giving back, long after Christmas has come and gone.
It's a win-win all the way around. It's a win for the habitat, it's a win for the wildlife, and then it's, you know, also a win for the people of New Orleans too. We will do it as long as they want to do it.
There's nothing like unwrapping a new gift. But did you ever think about how much time, money, and effort ends up in a pile of useless trash on the ground? Just for a few moments of joy? Every year between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day, Americans dump an additional 7 million pounds of trash containing wrapping paper, ribbons, and bows. That's 25% more than the rest of the year. But one startup is out to change that.
The label itself says reuse me, loud and clear. The idea is that we want to make reuse very easy. We don't want any of these ending up in a landfill.
Megan Downey created a reusable gift wrap in her basement.
Works like a ribbon.
These fabric squares pay homage to furoshiki, the Japanese art of wrapping. And every shiki wrap is made from recycled plastic bottles. We traveled to Vermont to see why one woman wants everyone to wrap gifts in worldwide waste. Using a shiki wrap is easy. But manufacturing one is not. The wrap start as plastic bottles.
Each wrap, depending on the size, is recycling between 1.5 to 7 bottles.
Megan tries to minimize the impact of every step in the process. She sources fabric called Reprieve from a company in North Carolina.
It is so soft and stretchy.
First, the company shreds the bottles into flakes, and then it melts them into resin chips.
These look like little balls, kind of similar to if you ever had Nerds candy as a kid.
Chips of resin get heated again and spun into strands that are only a few microns wide.
The spinneret looks a lot like a shower head, and if you look at the polymer that's coming out of the spinneret, it looks a lot like water.
Strands wind together to create a polyester yarn. Each bobbin rolling off the assembly line weighs 15 pounds and can hold up to 540 miles of yarn.
We are running our process at more than 3,000 meters per minute. That's almost 10,000 feet per minute of yarn that is being wound up.
The yarn can be woven into a fabric at a factory like this and then dyed with the bright designs that make shiki wraps look like wrapping paper. Megan's business is just starting out. She sold 4,000 wraps in her first year of sales. But it's not much compared to the estimated $15 billion gift wrap market.
If you go to any drugstore, any supermarket, I swear, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. All the gift wrap, the paper gift wrap.
But according to surveys, more than half of the people in the US think wrapping gifts is the worst part of the holiday season. If American families wrapped just 3 fewer presents each year, it would save enough paper to cover an area the size of Washington, D.C. Shiki wraps aren't just intended to save paper from trees. Traditional fabric dyeing can involve harmful chemicals and a lot of water, about 1.2 trillion gallons per year. So Shiki wraps employs a process that uses almost zero water and is chemical-free.
I've been in printing really my entire life, but I've been doing this kind of printing for about 6 years.
This is John Ginsler of LA Print Lab. He uses a technique called dye sublimation.
Sublimation really refers to something going from a solid to a gas without being a liquid. So it's like ice going to fog without being water.
John takes a digital file of Megan's design and prints it onto recycled paper.
The same technology that would be in an inkjet printer on your desk, just a lot more high grade and industrial.
Then John transfers the printed design and blank fabric into the dye sublimator. Heat transfers the ink from the paper to the fabric without any liquid. John repeats the process to give Megan her double-sided design before sending it back to Vermont. The final step is cutting out the squares at a factory called Forbidal.
This machine uses a small laser to cut exactly the dimensions, so every time she gets the exact size that she needs.
The laser cauterizes the ends, leaving clean edges.
It doesn't make sense to sew it for this purpose when the laser cutter is far more efficient. You don't need thread.
Megan then takes the finished wraps to be packaged and shipped. But she also has leftover scraps. And she's now selling them too.
Trust me, when your waste comes back to you, you're very motivated to minimize it.
The name shiki wrap comes from the Japanese word for shiki. The literal translation is bath spread. It dates back to around 700 BC, when people would carry personal belongings to public bathhouses in a neatly tied cloth. This is Megumi Esselstrom.
You will find 2 other corners.
She's from northeastern Japan, and she consults Megan on her product.
Traditionally, we use these fabrics, just the square-shaped fabrics, to wrap so many different things to carry place to place. This take knot part out for decoration, like that.
But while Megan and Megumi try to change people's wrapping habits, shiki wrap still faces some hurdles.
If you're going to make something sustainably in the US or locally, right, it costs a lot of money to do that.
Shiki wrap start at $14 for each reusable wrapping square. And it's $130 for the whole 9-piece holiday collection, which sold out for the 2022 season. But Megan says that price point reflects the idea that this is a one-time purchase.
Because you can reuse it as tote bags, scarves, gift wrap, head wrap, all kinds of things. People tell me I'm crazy for selling it as gift wrap and that I should sell it as other things.
So versatile, so fun.
So the next time you're staring down an aisle of different single-use wrapping papers, consider one you could use forever.
It's so wonderful when you give a gift to someone, a gift that you've spent hours selecting, and they open it. Who wants after that experience to have the guilt of the waste and that, nobody wants that feeling.
It takes more than just a red suit and a white beard to play Santa Claus. In fact, there's a school where people can train to be one of the season's most recognizable symbols.
What do you want for Christmas?
This is Santa School.
And put that seed on top of the plate and turn it like you're cutting a cookie.
Every fall, more than 200 Mr. and Mrs. Clauses from around the world arrive in a small Michigan town. to learn everything from singing
all of the other reindeer
to American Sign Language.
The Charles W. Howard School is the oldest Santa Claus school in the world.
We have Santas kind of go pretty much everywhere, from commercials to the Rockettes in New York City to Macy's Day Parade.
The 3-day course costs $580 for new students and $550 for returning students. And candidates are admitted on a first-come, first-served basis to master the Santa Claus look, sound, and act.
You're literally ready for anything after the school here.
Santa's the most well-known character in the world.
The red suit first appeared around 1930.
That's what we all try to achieve. The white beard, the red nose, the happy cheeks, and a belly full of jelly.
And in 1937, the Santa School was founded by Charles W. Howard, a Santa for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Man of the hour, Santa Claus. Hey there, everybody.
This is blush. This gives you a little color. And you really only need it on the tip of your nose and on the high part of your cheek.
We just want, nice, clean, and sharp-looking Santa.
Make sure your belt stays up high and doesn't go down underneath your belly so it's holding your belly up.
Originally, students at the Santa School wore artificial beards made of yak hair.
Merry Christmas, boys and girls. Merry Christmas, kids.
But Santa beards, especially when made of real hair, can come at a price.
The good ones are in the $2,000 range for a nice, beautiful set of hair.
Having a real beard does offer more authenticity in the photos, but the cost of being Santa can add up.
I made some investments. Right now, I'm sitting between $4,000 and $5,000. Between the hotel, the school, transportation, having work done professionally on my beard, having to buy several Santa suits, it's a big piece of change.
But looking like Santa is much more than makeup and a beard. Dancing like Santa is also a skill, starting with the basics.
When in doubt, super simple, we can step touch, yeah?
Students are taught dance moves specific to Santa, like going down the chimney and hanging tinsel on a tree.
Tinsel on the tree!
All I want us to do is turn on some music and let's do some stuff.
Everybody keep your clothes on.
Next, the Santa sound.
It's a little bit darker than the normal speaking voice. It's a little more robust, maybe a little bit further back in the throat.
Merry Christmas!
The school brings in a voice teacher to help Santas use, but not lose, their voices.
They're at it several hours a day from Thanksgiving until New Year's.
I'd also say too, like softer is not necessarily better. Whispering can actually take that vocal fuel even more quickly than talking in certain situations.
And when it comes to singing,
so there's a C. Here we go.
Using a pitch pipe is going to help ensure consistency. If you sing something in the same key a million times, eventually your brain will just hear it that way.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Santas also learn a variety of words and phrases in American Sign Language.
And you take that pointer finger and put it under your nose and wiggle. This is kids.
Last year, a young girl came with her family that had special needs. She really couldn't talk. She kind of stood away. She wasn't really comfortable coming close to me. And I asked her dad, I said, does she sign? And he says, yeah, she does. So I did Merry Christmas to her and sign, and she came right up to me. She sat on my knee, and he took pictures, and everything was great.
Take the letter P and touch your middle finger to your chin, pink. if Santa can sign with them, wow, that is like the top for them. They're so excited. They need to know that Santa loves them too. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Once students master Santa's look and sound, it's time to put it all into practice and become Santa.
What have you been doing with all them Legos I've been bringing you each year, huh?
He makes sets out.
He makes stuff out of.
A professional Santa must be skilled in improvisation.
Things can go wrong. Your hat can fall off, your mustache could fall off, your beard could get tugged on.
Holy peppermint sticks, am I happy to see you guys!
Every year, a local kindergarten class visits the Santa School, and students can observe how to answer kids' questions.
Because you never know what the little ones are going to ask.
How did you make that out?
They kind of reproduce like puppies.
We tell the kids and the teachers that this is a Santa cousin reunion. So that's what the little ones think.
How the elf get to go to Santa's pool?
It was probably 822 years ago when the elves moved up there.
Some of these guys, they get some good ideas and really build that confidence. Okay, this is the character I'm playing. These are the things that Santa says.
The week concludes with a formal graduation where students receive a diploma. After graduating, the Santas move on to their upcoming gigs. They might be booked by photographers for photo sessions.
My work with the photographer starts on Friday after next week.
Or be mall Santas.
And then about the middle of November, I am sitting in the seat at a mall back in Philadelphia.
The average rate for a professional Santa is roughly $150 an hour in the United States, with mall Santas on the low end of that scale, averaging at $30 an hour.
I do it because I just love it. I believe the kids need to have a little joy in their life, especially now.
To me, it's just a great privilege. Again, it's a privilege to be Santa. It's not a job.
Chocolate Santas are one of the most popular Christmas treats. A chocolatier in Alberta, Canada, makes one that weighs 26 pounds.
We often give our customers little hammers and they can break Santa apart. And my kids love to break Santa apart and get to eat a piece of his butt because they think that's hilarious. It's a lot of chocolate, so sometimes people think it's almost too much to eat, but then people break it up and they bake with it and do a lot of fun things through the holiday seasons.